Is things like ghosts, is that like the new PC term for we're not allowed to say ghosts anymore?
Yeah, well, we don't want to exclude ghouls.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
We're here. It's the Final Transmission podcast. It's Sam Russo and Jamie Carruthers coming at you once a week with an episode of a podcast about horror. And I'm Sam Russo. Hi, Jamie. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm Jamie Carruthers.
I'm Sam Russo till the end of time.
I don't know if you are Sam Russo to the end of time.
Well, that's an interesting philosophical question. Do we cease to be when we cease to live, or do we continue?
I think we continue until the last person forgets us.
Ah, the classic. Whoever said that first? I don't know. It's been said a lot. You think so? I think. What about your energy? What about your essential
oils?
Schmonk? Yeah.
I don't think that they linger on.
You don't? Well, it's going to be a stretch for you to believe anything that happens in this film then. Today we're talking about 2011's ghost story-tastic The Innkeepers, directed by Ty West, written by Ty West, edited by Ty West.
Yes, it's his fourth appearance on the podcast, third as director.
Do you know what we've done? No Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. What's up with that?
Well, he's only been in one horror movie.
Really?
Yeah.
What one are you thinking of? Let's say it at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
End of
Predator.
Days.
Oh, End of Days, yeah. Predator's
Predator's
not, really
not a horror movie.
is it? No, it's action, sci-fi action, horror adjacent property.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he do more horror? End of Days.
That's why.
There you have it.
But yeah, we've done more Ty West movies than we've done George Romero movies.
Done more Ty West movies than either of us have had intimate relations with celebrities.
Correct. Well, by the end of this episode, correct.
If you'd like to know more about that, subscribe to our Patreon. Patreon.finaltransmission.
Yeah, there's a comment there somewhere.
Yep. Probably after the dot. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with this whole internet scenario.
Yeah.
Do you think they're ever going to bring back the old internet? I've been thinking about this lately.
Like the one that we see in this movie.
Yeah, the good internet, the old days.
The days when there was 1 million websites and you would go on them for an hour a day.
Yeah.
Rather than the fact that there was 4 websites and you're constantly on them for your entire life.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I think that would be better. I don't think it's going to happen, sadly.
Someone should do that. Someone should really get on that. If you're listening and you're in control of the internet, let's have a bit of a switch up.
I think, yeah, what we need is like a supervillain who's like, look, I want to end the internet.
I think that might be Ty West.
Do you think that might be Ty West?
Yep, could be his next move.
I just got your little blurby name, Ty West, Forever West. There we go.
There we go. Yours says a scary ghost. We'll see. So, tell me the story, Jamie. Bring me in here. What's your experience of this film?
Well, we should say that before we start getting into our experiences of this film,
yeah,
that we've chosen this specifically to honour your friend and friend of the pod, Miggy from Bottle Rocket.
Welcome to Miggy Month. A month on the podcast that I didn't know was happening, where we cover 4 movies selected by Miguel Chen of the band Teenage Bottle Rocket, a famous horror fan, a famous horror nut. Miggy is a good friend of ours, good friend of the pod, and on long drives on tour, he talks to me a lot about horror movies that I haven't seen, and he recommends me a bunch and scolds me like a child for not having seen them. And then we go into great in-depth conversations about various horror tropes, etc., etc. So we decided, hey bud, curate a month of the pod, and here it is, day 1 of Mickey Month.
Are you recalibrating your review now that you know that he picked it?
Nope, I'm just angry at someone else for a change. I honestly didn't know that we were just leaping straight into Miggy Month. Welcome to a very professionally curated podcast. There it is. Oh no, see, the name I have written down here is The Innkeeper. That might be a different movie.
I mean, it isn't.
Okay, it's not. Great.
I mean, it might be, but it isn't.
It's not then. Are you gaslighting me? Is this what it feels like? Well, here we are with The Innkeepers from 2011, chosen by Miguel Chen, which feels, I don't know, feels like a funny pick, especially given the others on the list. But sure, let's roll with it. Jamie's looking down.
There's no feature called The Innkeeper.
Okay.
In fact, there is a feature called no. There's no features called The Innkeeper.
Okay.
So it must be this.
Strikes me as strange. Must be this, yeah.
If it's not, tough shit.
Then we
Watch
fucked it
now.
up. Tell you what, live on air, I'll text him to make sure. He doesn't know we're doing this. And he does listen to the podcast, though. He has listened to a couple of episodes. He once forced me to listen to an episode of the podcast with him in the van. It was fucking horrible.
Was he like refuting things live?
Mostly disagreeing. Mostly thinking I was an idiot. Which seems to be, the general thrust of our audience's thinking. So yeah, we're in Miggy month. Let's grab this baby by the mane and see where she runs.
Yeah. So going back to your original question.
Can't remember what it was.
It was what was my experience with this movie more generally. So I saw this movie when it came out, maybe a year or so later on DVD back in 2012.
Yep.
And I've seen it precisely one time.
Mm-hmm.
2 times now. Well, 3 if you count me watching the commentary.
Just so you know, we have confirmation. Yes, Ty West.
Good. So that's my experience. I've seen this movie 2.5 times. The end.
There you go. I've seen it once in 2 halves, yesterday and today.
Fascinating stuff, mate.
Yep, I'd never seen it before. I'd never heard of it. Ty West obviously only came on my radar when he got massive. I wasn't I wasn't pre-noggin like the rest of you. I wasn't watching his meteoric rise to pulp superstardom. I just sort of jumped on at the end.
Obviously, we liked House of the Devil.
Yep.
We were mixed on Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever.
Mixed nuts, yep.
There's some good in there, some bad in there. I know that you don't love the X trilogy.
I can't say I love them, no. I enjoyed watching them. They're just good, chewy, pulpy one-and-doners for me.
I liked X the best.
Yeah.
And I quite liked Pearl, but I didn't love Maxine.
There's stuff I really like in all of them. I can't remember which movie it is, but the end credits is just her crying.
Yeah, that's Pearl.
That was great. I love that. That was so uncomfortable.
Like the back of a Volkswagen.
Is that a Mallrats joke? Holy fuck. A Mallrats joke on Final Transmission. That might be a first. And it's not from me. What's happening? Cats and dogs living together. Wow. Good from you, Jamie. Well played. Bet you'll cut that out.
Yeah, probably will.
This was made for a mere, so I'm told, $750,000, which feels, in the grand scheme of movies we've covered, low budge.
Definitely low budge. I think that was the shooting budget. So I think the post-production budget was maybe a bit more on top of that. But who knows for sure? Certainly not me.
Yeah, we'll just put it out there like it's fact, and then some LLM will scrape it and it'll become true. Shot in a hotel, apparently, that they stayed in while shooting another movie and got inspired to make this movie based on real-life haunting happenings.
Yeah, so while they were shooting House of the Devil...
There it is.
They apparently had some things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. So, obviously... A bunch of the stuff that I read about the Yankee Peddler Hotel, say that it's a really famous site of like historical hauntings in America. But I found it impossible to find anything that backs that up that doesn't specifically reference this movie, The Innkeepers.
Oh right, I thought you were just in a very earnest way going to say you were unable to verify the existence of ghosts.
No, I mean. I am unable to verify the existence of ghosts, but I couldn't find anything about this hotel being famously haunted that didn't include some reference to this movie.
Sure.
And therefore, I take that with a grain of salt, with a pinch of salt, because it's like, is it famously haunted, or is it a movie that then has made it become well known, and now it's famously haunted because of the movie?
You'd have to go back to the old internet to find something like that out.
Yeah.
Have you ever stayed in a famously haunted venue?
Not that I'm aware of.
No?
I feel like I would be aware of that because I would think that would be cool.
Yeah, I can't see you going somewhere and not realising it's famously haunted. That seems very un-Jamie.
Yeah, I'm a guy that did a buried alive simulator in Kissimmee, Florida, so...
There you go. Say no more. Good Tinder bio.
Have you ever stayed anywhere famously haunted?
Weirdly, yes. And so Claire and I we stayed for one night, not very far away from our house, but we wanted to get completely shit-faced and do this like haunted tour of this manor house near where we live. And we decided to stay in the Bull pub in Long Melford, which has lots of stuff in there, kind of subtly tucked away to one side about how, semi-famously haunted it is. And I think they kind of are undecided as to whether they want to be a haunted pub or whether they just want it to be like a curio or a little fact for people to sort of pick up while they're there. And we thought, whatever, fine, we'll stay there. And I'm sure it'll be creepy, but it's definitely not haunted because haunted things aren't real. And holy fuck, was it haunted to hell. It was absolutely fucking insane. We both had horrible, weird, like chilled to the bone feelings sitting downstairs having a pint before we went to bed, sitting in front of a roaring fire. When we finally went to bed, oh my God, the noise was absolutely inexplicable. This is not like, I'm a practical, pragmatic-minded human man, and this wasn't like pipes in the walls or, someone upstairs or whatever. It was just shit like smashing into the walls from the outside, just like deafening concussions waking you up in the night, shit rattling like actual chains, to the point where I would like rip the door open and look outside to see if someone was fucking with us. I had tortured nightmares, absolutely horrifying nightmares. I felt like the bed was twisting in the night, like all of this crazy shit in the course of one night stay at the Bull in Long Melford. Genuinely scary stuff. Like we were both awake half the night, like completely freaked.
Wow. I think, did we go there for a pint? I feel like I vaguely remember you telling me this story while we were there for a pint. Yeah,
we did, because we did a mini Melford pub crawl, didn't we? I took you to a couple of spots. I like that village. It's really good fun, and it's a very scary place.
I also, during the telling of that story, you looked a little bit like you were playing an invisible trumpet. You were like...
I'm always playing an invisible trumpet.
Blow that, daddy-o. Yeah.
I love mouth trumpet. My cohabiting partner does not.
No?
Nope.
I have tried throughout my life to force haunting-based experiences upon myself.
Yeah.
And it's never happened.
You tried to put yourself in the way of a good haunting.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that if ghosts are real and haunting is real, that it's something that happens all the time. Do you know what I mean? I think even if you stay in a haunted house, and the movies will tell you, like, if you go to a haunted house, it's haunted all the time. I don't think that's necessarily the case. If we're tracking any kind of like linear logic to this pseudo-spiritual idea that ghosts exist, I don't think you can guarantee every time you check into a haunted hotel you're going to have the absolute willies haunted out of you. I think it's more of an ephemeral process than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of like paranormal podcasts by like sort of paranormal investigators and stuff, and a couple of them believe that ghosts and paranormal stuff more generally is like an internal projection. Like the ghost is real, but you're projecting that ghost. You sort of carry those ghosts with you, and your own personal psychic energy is projecting those ghosts.
Well, so you create the ghost, or
but you create the ghost, like but it's based on, I don't know, something. Like you're not inventing. Oh, it's Peter McWillies. He's the ghost of
the guy who got crushed by an anvil in 1804 or whatever. Yeah. It's not a real. Okay.
You're not inventing. You're not inventing a law for a ghost, but like your psychic energy has the power to. And maybe that's why I never see a ghost. Maybe I've got weak psychic energy.
Isn't that just called imagination? Isn't that just imagining there's a ghost? That sounds like a really pompous way of saying we imagine ghosts.
Well, no, because they also believe that like the power of belief is what creates something. So like Sasquatch or Bigfoot or whatever is real because enough people believe in Sasquatch or Bigfoot or whatever.
Unfortunately, that's provably untrue by science.
Well,
I think ghosts are more dicey because you can't ironclad 100% definitely prove that nothing even resembling or in the sphere of the existence of ghosts exists. But you also can't 100% verify it, but there's obviously such an enormous body of human experience to support the existence of something ghost-like that it warrants further investigation. Do you know what I mean? You can prove that willing ghosts into existence isn't real.
Well, I think obviously we don't know about the full power of the human consciousness, but yeah,
there's something pretty like Jungian about imagining ghosts or bringing ghosts into being by force of, I don't know, the spirit. I don't. The problem we've always had with ghosts, right? You and me / the world in general, in my opinion, is that believing in ghosts implies a broader system of belief around life after death, or something resembling it. So, if you like to believe that when you die, there is just crushing abyssal darkness and nothing, which is in itself very hard to imagine. I'd say impossible to imagine with the human brain. You can't really believe in ghosts. Whereas if you're agnostic about it, if you've got a splinter of doubt gnawing away at the center of your brain that there might be something after death, then go nuts, believe in ghosts. I think I do. Incongruous to my other beliefs, I think I actually do believe in the existence of ghosts.
So what don't you believe in? You don't believe in Bigfoot?
Undecided. I think so. I was talking to Swaby the other day about Bigfoot navigating the world through a series of celestial tunnels and caves, and it was such a compelling story that I wanted to believe it. You know, a lot like Christianity or, you know, any major religion. It's such a fun idea that I just want to believe it. And I like to believe in Bigfoot because it's full of ridiculous ideas and theories and crazy people and, you know, very fun, fertile mystery territory. So I enjoy that. Part of me believes in Bigfoot. Yeah, sure. What about you?
I mean, I don't know about Bigfoot because I've never seen anything that makes me think of Bigfoot. But
Should you be saying a Bigfoot, given your track record of pluralizing monsters?
Yeah, maybe. But I do like the idea of just like there are creatures out there that we don't know about.
Oh yeah, I love like exploring the lore of cryptids is so much fun. Like the shit that people think is out there, incredible. You know, entire civilizations of Gribblies living near the mantle of the earth. You know, give me that all day long. But it's more entertaining than it has any kind of real credence, and that's just fun escapist stuff for me. But I think at some point in your life, you have to reconcile this idea of ghosts. You've got to figure out where you stand on it. It feels like a real pull to me. It's something that you have to decide.
Yeah. How do you feel about like paranormal investigators more generally, given that that's like basically the integral plot of this movie, or the main characters at least?
Obviously, healthily skeptical. Again, really fun. A really fun place to go in a movie, or there's a guy from the town that I grew up in who is a pretty prolific paranormal investigator, and having talked to him, over beers and stuff, he's so 100% earnest and believes 100% that what he's doing has the chance to yield real results. I think I'd smell it if he was a scammer or, trying to manipulate or whatever, but he just really believes it. And I find it really hard to take that away from someone. Like some of this evidence is so tenuous and so manipulated, and obviously it's been ruined by a small contingent of complete, exploiters and hucksters, and
probably quite a large contingent, but
a lot of like TV shows and crap like that. But I don't know, can you capture another dimension on film or audio? Probably not, dude. I don't know. Like if you're going to follow the logic that ghosts are interacting with us directly through our psychological, like through brainwaves essentially, or through our psyches, or on a very deep emotional level that can't necessarily be measured by conventional instruments, I don't understand how you're supposed to go out there with a microphone and fucking hear a ghost going like, ooh. So, well, unsure.
I mean, we can get into
spectroscopes and
some of the detail of that, because there are like specific recorders that people use that are better for recording electronic voice phenomena and stuff.
Yeah, ghosts. Ghost recorders.
Well, the one is the Panasonic DR50. That's the most popular one, and basically, it's an unshielded microphone, and it only starts recording when it hears sound.
Yeah.
So that's a really good one.
That means a ghost has to generate an actual sound in the dimension that we live in and process sound through.
Well, I mean, what people say about that recorder is that it records below and above the human audio register. It's not true. Sure. It doesn't.
Oh. But people say it, Jamie.
But people say it. And like I've heard lots of very convincing EVP recordings taken on the DR50.
Nice.
But I don't know how they could possibly exist when it records a very basic human spectrum. But I've heard things that are very convincing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because obviously our perception of the reality that we quote unquote exist in is remarkably limited by our, to us, incredibly sensitive perception apparatus, eyes, nose, mouth, skin, everything else. But there's a whole load of shit happening that we're not picking up on, and I think it's entirely possible that some of that is messy leftover energy that we, in the course of our long, strange, and wonderful existence collectively as humans on Earth, have classified as ghosts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like asking someone if they believe in God. It's like, well, I can either say yes or no, or I can talk to you for 3 hours and you'll be none the wiser. It's exactly how I feel about ghosts.
Yeah. I think like in the air all around us at all times, there's radio waves, there's microwaves, there's all kinds of things. There's loads of stuff that we can't see, or feel, or percept in any way.
Jizz.
So I don't know if there's jizz, maybe in your house, but like, I don't like. Maybe some of that is finding its way into a microphone. Probably not a directional shotgun mic that is got a really strong condenser and also
just a pair of headphones, like
phantom power, because that's basically from what I understand, and I want to get into this in a little bit when we're in spoilers, but from what I understand, that is like anathema to EVP. Like you're never going to record EVP on a really high end directional microphone because you'd have to put it to the ghost's
upper ghost's
mouth.
Ass. Yeah, you'd have to point it direct. Yeah, I don't understand why you would. Well, fuck me, it's so complicated. Like, why would you choose that method to find a ghost? It's going to be quite hard. You're going to be moving it around, looking for it the whole time. That's conducive to narrative and visuals. The image of the ghost hunter moving the mic around. It's almost synonymous with the practice, right? But also, if you're going wide, you're going to pick up everything in the entire building, every creak, every crack, every mouse, someone could fart 12 rooms over and you pick it up and it sounds like a ghost. I see it as all very flawed and kind of pointless. I also think that if we were going to be able to detect things like ghosts, sounds so dumb, but if we're going to be able to detect it somehow, I think that invention would have been created by now, right?
Is things like ghosts, is that like the new PC term for we're not allowed to say ghosts anymore?
Yeah, well, we don't want to exclude ghouls. If we're going to find or somehow see or perceive in an evidenceable way a being from a spirit realm, we'd have fucking figured it out by now, I think, right? It's 2026.
Yeah, well, I think like the conducive way, there are two sort of main methods for recording EVP specifically. Yeah. One of them is you set up a recorder in a room and you just leave it running for 12 hours.
Yeah. And
then you sit and you comb through and you listen to every noise that it picks up, and then you decide if something on there is EVP or not.
Yeah, you can probably scrub through and you can see a bump and it'll be like, oh, there it is. There's a ghost.
Yeah.
Seems a little bit crude.
I was listening to a podcast recently where they were talking about EVP, and really funny. This ghost hunter set up a recorder to try and record some EVP. Listened back to it, and it was just all of his friends talking shit about him. How great is that?
Amazing. That's genius. Love it.
Haunted by the horrible things that your friends say about you behind your back.
Yep, haunted by what your mates really think about you. That's way scarier than a ghost. Secretly recording what people actually think about you. Fucking hell, no thank you, pal.
Yeah, I would rather get the willies scared out of me by Madeline McCann or whatever this ghost's name is.
Same here. I think the topic of ghosts is so endlessly interesting to me that we could talk about it for days. But I also think a really key factor, something that's relevant to our discussion of this film at least, is the motivation of a ghost. You know, if a ghost exists, let's take that leap together, dear listeners. We believe in ghosts for the sake of this podcast, right? Ghosts exist. That means that, you know, in the form that they exist in this genre, they have a psychology of some kind and motivation, real drive. More motivation probably than when they were alive as humans. And I find that really interesting because throughout human history, we've obviously characterized ghosts as either benevolent or malevolent or tortured or, you know, lost, wandering in a nether realm or unfinished business, that kind of thing. And how that mythology's come around is, you know, really interesting in the last couple of hundred years because it's so massively churned and polluted by the ideas propagated by entertainment, right? Whereas previously it's mythology and it's lore and it's religion and it's stories and it's oral tradition, etc., etc. So now we live in the absolute fucking tumble dryer of ghost nonsense logic, and it's actually quite fertile ground for new and interesting moves in genre filmmaking around the idea of ghosts. But it's also fucking junk in terms of like the decisions that people are making about how and why ghosts behave. It's very interesting. It's causing a huge amount of shit films to be made.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the oral tradition and the myth and the legend and the stories being passed down from generations to, that's also entertainment.
That's a form of entertainment, yeah.
And like the reason that stories get so big is because of that Purple Monkey dishwasher effect, right? The game of telephone that's happening with these tall tales.
Yeah.
But I completely agree that like there's so much of this flavored entertainment or like ghost hunter flavored entertainment, paranormal investigator entertainment that it's just like it's impossible to check out your two different piles of wheats and chaffs and know which one you.
This is Jamie once again tacitly excusing himself from understanding the process of separating wheat from chaff and which has value.
They both have value in this
Jamie,
analogy.
Just don't bring the analogy into any conversation and you'll save yourself being rumbled for not understanding wheat, okay? Just
like,
leave the wheat alone.
I think that like the endless churn of paranormal investigator, ghost hunter TV shows where 4 people go into a dark room and scare each other till they all run out with night vision goggles on or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a place for that. I mean, I wish there was maybe not 500 of those shows that all have 1,000 episodes each.
Yeah. It's just so easy, isn't it? It's so easy to make. Such a formula that you can churn.
And what I wish for those shows is that they were just a bit more skeptical.
You need a Scully, always.
Yeah.
You can't just have this group of like absolutely ghost hungry, frothing spirit nut jobs running in, convinced it's all real, and like you said, just scaring the absolute arsehole off each other left, right, and center. You need a straight man or a skeptic.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast recently where they were talking about having been on one of those shows, and like 99% of time when you hear a noise or when they hear a noise on that show, it's something that the crew is doing.
Oh, yeah, of course. You can't have, shit's got to be maneuvered, right? Things have to move.
Yeah.
People are in there. Like, there's always going to be some little scratchy, scrunky little noise. There's even a part in this film, no spoilers, where, the guy says, like, he thinks he's got a bad wire, and that's what's picking up the crackle or the hum or whatever that he's getting. I mean, it's a minefield of shit like that. I just see it as do you know what? I kind of respect it, the people that are really earnest about it, because it's such a completely pointless endeavor. Like, the odds are so stacked against you that you're ever going to be able to capture quote unquote evidence of the existence or presence of a ghost,
Yeah, and it's so funny because like obviously they have these shitty little Panasonic DR50s that sold for like $100 when they came out in like 1999. And like they're recording the EVPs on that and they're playing them back and it's like, oh, look at this spooky EVP. And it's like, yeah, but the $10,000 microphone that is above you didn't hear shit.
For the TV show, yeah.
So like...
Yeah, absurd. And that's all of that makes it hard to believe in ghosts. But believing in ghosts, this isn't going to be popular, is an act of faith, right? Because there's no fucking evidence. All you have is your own personal experience, your own lens, your own culture, and it's your decision. You know, it's your prerogative whether or not you believe in ghosts. You get to choose whether you're convinced or not by the quote-unquote evidence.
Do you have a favourite, like, British quote-unquote true ghost story?
Well, when I was a kid, I'm very much convinced that I saw a ghost, or that my brain told me I saw a ghost. That's my favourite by a mile. When we used to explore the old loony bin, remember I told you about this? There was an old abandoned mental hospital in the town that I grew up in. It was just where we played. It was just where we hung out and explored. And my friend Billy and I saw a face in a window once, sprinted in to find out, you know, who was in there. Was it a friend or someone we could hang out with? And that window was totally inaccessible, huge holes in the floor, and there was nobody in there. And we were run out of there soon after by the farmer. And that was 100% a shared experience. Neither of us said, like, look up there, a face. We both just looked and saw a face and looked at each other and were like, let's go fucking see who that is. So that felt somewhat verifiable at the time. Two people had the same experience. We weren't like talking about ghosts or talking about seeing faces in windows. It just happened. And it's unlikely that it was like a refraction of light or something in the window. We just definitely both saw a face. We talk about it to this day. But in terms of like, I don't really know many famous, our country's just fucking lousy with hauntings. And I almost forget them. There's so many of them. Anytime you go on like a ghost walking tour or fucking, I don't know, talk to an old person. Yeah, billions of.
That's why there's in this movie they talk about this hotel, the Yankee Peddler Hotel. Yeah. Which has been there since 1891. That's pathetic.
That is pathetic. My house
is that old. Yeah.
I'm sitting in a house older than the haunted hotel in this movie.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah. And why aren't our houses haunted? Do you know what I mean? Like, so many people must have died here. So much fucked up stuff must have happened here. Fucked up stuff happens here every day now. It's going to be haunted to shit when we leave.
Like I say, I think that potentially you invite the hauntings with your own psychic energy.
That's a very Insidious take. As in the movie, not fuck you, you're being insidious.
I think maybe that's also the take of this movie.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah.
Anyway, we've been going for a while and we've not really talked about this movie yet. So
I wonder why.
Let's do a quick synopsis, right? It's the last weekend of the Yankee Peddler Hotel.
Yep.
2 members of staff there, Claire and
the other guy.
Claire and Luke. Played by Sarah Paxton and Pat Healy. They work there, but they also happen to be paranormal investigators. Which
they've decided today.
Yeah. And are they trying to capture some paranormal experience so it'll keep the hotel open so they can keep their jobs? That's kind of implied, but sure, whatever. Also in the hotel is Kelly McGillis playing Leanne Rhys-Jones, a former TV actress, now spiritual healer, an angry lady and her young child, and a creepy old man.
Yeah, that's everyone. That's the whole shaboink.
Yeah, they're all in the hotel. We're trying to figure out if there's something spooky happening. Spoiler alert, there is.
There really is.
I've got 4 pages of notes, so let's take a break.
Fuck me.
And we'll come back and we'll get into some spoilers.
4 pages? I need a beer.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
Sam, I'm back.
Welcome back, Jamie.
I'm assuming that means that you're back also.
I've never been more back in my life. Back with a beer and ready to rip. 4 pages of notes, you say? Bring it on.
I'm getting the impression that you didn't like this movie very much.
Is that ESP? Am I projecting a ghost of my dissatisfaction with this? No, I mean, that's not strictly true, first of all. And don't attack me. First of all, I want you to tell me how I feel about this movie.
Okay. So my assumption of how you feel is maybe a slightly more derogatory version of how I feel.
Yeah, I think you quite like this. I think there's a fucking dirty little part of you that was really enjoying this film.
So it's impossible to, for me at least, it's impossible to experience this film without thinking about House of the Devil.
Sure.
Because not premise-wise, but like structure-wise, they're very similar. You're with a girl having an experience leading towards a fairly inevitable conclusion.
You're describing my experience of dating. Carry on.
Sure. But yeah, so like structurally it feels very similar to House of the Devil. I think my biggest issue with The Innkeepers is that House of the Devil lays out the stakes really early.
Right.
We know as viewers, even before AJ Bowen shoots that girl in the face, that like you shouldn't be in this fucking house.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be taking this babysitting someone's ill mother job.
So tense from the very beginning. Fucked up levels of tension. Oh, owie, was that tense.
But this movie doesn't do the same thing. I think that's a choice because otherwise they would literally just be retreading House of the Devil beat for beat in a different setting with ghosts instead of Satanists or whatever. But like, it makes that first hour a bit of a slog.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting comparison because House of the Dead is the same fucking filmmaker.
Devil.
House of the Devil is the same filmmaker. House of the Dead's a different film. And it has, again, I knew this comparison was going to be kind of critical in our, the way that we kind of comb through this movie. Because House of the Devil, I think, is great. I think it's a really, really great horror film. I think it's incredibly fun. It's got kind of everything. It feels haunting, but it's about Satanists, which we love. It's got Noonan. It's got good old smelly Greta. It's got kind of loads of shit that we love about movies.
Yeah.
It's got a really great gunshot to the face. It's got loads of cool shit. And The Innkeepers, I think, is kind of billed as, or at least kind of widely perceived to be, the more subtle, slow burn, little gribbly brother of House of the Devil, maybe. It's supposed to be maybe a slightly more nuanced approach to a traditional ghost story. And that's some good PR. That's one way to really spin it, I think. And one could argue, the first hour of this movie is slow burn, character building, tension establishment.
You could, and I wouldn't say you were wrong.
Yep.
I just think that the character building establishment stuff has no bearing on the final act.
No, the end of this film is almost a complete non sequitur to the rest of the film.
But I love that final act. I think there's some genuinely quite scary stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I think that this movie stayed with me for a good 2 or 3 hours after both times I watched it properly.
Yeah, well, I think what's good about the film is the ghost. I think this is a genuinely scary, A, ghost, and B, portrayal of a ghost. I don't think the haunting itself is very good at all because of flaws in story and pacing and a couple of other things. But for the most part, I think a ghost story is a triangle, right? It has to have a strong base. It has to have 2 strong sides. And those things are good ghost, good haunting, and visuals, really, in this kind of story. And the sort of center of that triangle, if it's a 2D structure, is the story, the ghost story itself. So for me, some of this works so well, and some of it is very much laying itself open to the criticism that it's fucking dull as dog shit and goes nowhere.
Yeah. I could agree with you if you said that like character stuff is really important and really engaging in order for us to care that, this girl dies. Or you could also, I wouldn't say you were wrong if you thought it was really boring.
Yeah, and I'm, to be honest, completely on the fence because I end up really liking the character, but not giving the slightest of fucks when she dies because it's quite an anticlimactic death, if we're honest, isn't it? It's an off-screen death resultant of who knows what, and it's just a classic fucking CSI gurney rolling out at the end. Which doesn't feel like the right reward for the amount of fucking graft that you put in to get to that point in the movie, in terms of how much attention you're paying, how much investment you're giving her potential relationship, you know, all the shit that comes along with that character development. It's just sort of like, bang, she's dead, there's a gurney, wah, wah. And that doesn't feel, A, particularly rewarding, or B, very Ty West.
No, I mean, I think that like the ramp up to her dying is good. I don't think they make enough of the asthma and how bad her asthma is.
Well, that doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, I thought like, she's going to have an asthma attack. There's going to be a big asthma scene, and that doesn't happen. If that's misdirection, fine. But why?
But like she dies of an asthma attack. That's how she dies.
Do you actually think that's how she dies?
I mean, they say it in the movie.
Oh, do they? Oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
When?
But like that's her. She drops her inhaler when she falls down the stairs, and when she goes in the room that's locked and is being terrified, like she can't give herself the inhaler because it's in a different room.
Well, in that case, I want to see her slowly die of asphyxiation. I want to watch the ghost scare her to death slowly. Don't take that away from me. Look how I put in an hour and 37 minutes at this point of watching her go, ooh, scary here, isn't it? I want to watch her fucking die.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily need that, but what I need is more of how reliant she actually is on the inhaler
to believe the
to believe
that
she will die of not having
asthma.
It in since 6 minutes ago or something. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also think there's obviously been an artistic decision here not to show that death, right? So in my mind, you've got her sitting hunched against the wall, slowly aspirating while there's a ghost right in front of her face, breathing and being scary. And that's a fun death scene in my head. And maybe it's better that I imagine it that way than Ty West shows it to me and butchers it or whatever. But some decision has been made here to kill her off screen, to kill the main character off screen in a movie where there's not really any ghost deaths.
No. And I think the point is sort of going back to what we talked about before, is that like, is there really a ghost, or is it a projection of Claire's wants, or what Claire is seeing, because nobody else is really seeing it.
I think it'd be cool if she got slimed to death. Ghostbusters style. That'd be sick. I thought what was going to happen here, because that was such a pulled punch, and I don't want to harp on about it like a fucking dick, but that was so piss weak and lame to me that I thought your boy Luke was going to reappear at the end, and this is what I thought was about to happen. And he was, because the whole time we're led to believe that he's trying to tell her he loves her, right? That's what the unspoken, and obviously he just bails.
Yeah.
He just literally disappears. I thought he was going to come back after she died and say he'd set the whole thing up. It was a last night at the hotel prank, like a last night at work prank. And he'd paid these people to play these roles, and he was seeding the idea of a ghost, and it all got out of hand, and she died of asthma. And I thought that would be a fun little plot twist. But he doesn't. He just shows up and walks around with his hands in his pockets. It's like, oh yeah, she died because I couldn't. Whoops. Fuck off. Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, I think that ending that you suggest there would have been shit. And I know that because that is the ending of the movie Catacombs.
Yeah, but I was begging for it because it was such an unsatisfactory ending otherwise. Like, she died, they wheel her out, and that's it.
I mean, I don't hate the ending at all. I mean,
ghost stories have to end on a downer, I think, is also worth noting.
Yeah.
I'm not saying ghost stories need big, twisty, exciting Shyamalan endings. But I felt very wet to have Luke just show up and be like, oh, bummer.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the epilogue bit is meant to show that now she's part of the rich, ghosty history of the hotel, right?
Is that absolutely nailed on? You think that's 100% what it's saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have watched that ending very closely. That final shot that they linger on for ages until the door slams.
Yes.
And much like the fucking fake ass ghost hunters on TV who stare at something until they see it. I see Claire in that final shot. She's in there.
Where?
You sort of see her reflection in the window before the door slams.
Fine. I'd like to know more about the haunting.
Well, so
to understand that, like the hotel's gathering souls.
I think like an old building that continues to have a life will continue to amass tragedies or deaths or whatever. So like,
sure,
you constantly are adding to the souls that exist in a place. That's why the TV show Ghosts on BBC Two, there's a caveman, there's a Shakespearean poet, there's a 80s politician. Do you know what I mean? They're like, this place has been amassing dead for generations upon generations.
That's another interesting facet about ghosts. If we're believing in them and assuming they have some kind of vaguely human psychology, they're carrying the baggage of the time period they lived in while essentially cruising through eternity.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You're like, you died in fucking the plague in Victorian England. You just you rotted from the inside out, shit your pants until your guts came out and died in a gutter. And then you have to haunt some fucking Zoomer who's on his phone all day. Like, you'd be fuming.
Also, like...
You're like, there's fucking strip clubs. What the fuck? Like, floating around. You'd be bummed.
And like the idea that, like, what do you just amass the generations upon generations of knowledge? Do you become basically like a super genius ghost because you see everything that's happened for hundreds upon hundreds of years?
Become a wise ghost. Do you also hang with the other ghosts?
Well, they're doing it
Are you social
in the TV show Ghosts. They all hang out.
I mean, that makes for madcap japes and romps, but is it sound logic to assume that a fucking... And I don't know. I want to know the rules, man. Like, if we're going to believe in ghosts, I need rules. This is how religion happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to believe in God, I need a set of rules. Well, here's a book for you, buddy.
Well,
it's got all the rules.
Here's a question for you that may undermine all of that.
Go on.
When Luke says, I never saw anything, I made it all up, do you think he's saying that he made up the sightings, or that he made up the whole story, the whole Madeline McCann, whatever her name is, story?
To spend time with Claire.
Yeah. Like the whole history ghost story that we're focusing on, is that something that he made up?
It's a facet of the character development of the movie that I enjoy, is that we spend a lot of time with him. We find out he's essentially, I don't want this to sound mean, but he's a kind of a coward, right? He does run away. He's unable to express his love for somebody that he spends an enormous amount of time with and obviously wants to be with, who ultimately dies.
Yeah. He's also like 20 years older than her, but sure.
Sure. And he drops this absolutely, like, unfathomably vague proclamation at the end there. So I find that interesting. I find that compelling. And I think as a storytelling device, it's great because it has, you're walking out of the cinema having that exact conversation, right? It's the first thing that you're talking about if you're me and you right now. And my take on it...
I mean, it's not the first thing that we're talking about. We've been on this call for 2 hours at this point. But
talking for fucking hours. I think, here's my take, and this is maybe a little bit gloomy, but I think he's fucked. He's absolutely fucked. And he's just so down on everything that he's just saying the worst version of everything in that moment. I don't think he's necessarily telling the truth there. I think he did believe that the haunting was happening. But I think he's just like, get me the fuck out of it. I didn't see anything. Fuck this. Goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, I like to believe that he made everything up and that she is projecting this haunting from her own psyche just out of sheer belief.
See, I like that for you. For me, that ruins the movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you can do that, but I can't get there. I don't know.
Like for me,
because the woman senses something profoundly not evil. I don't know, something that scares her enough that she leaves and warns her to leave.
The Kelly McGillis character.
Yeah, Boozy Magoo, whatever her name is.
So here's another question that's sort of related to that. So when Ty West and the gang of House of the Devil stayed here, obviously that included Dee Wallace. who is an actress who famously once had 3 names, Dee Wallace Stone, who, when she became less prolific as an actor, also got into spiritual healing with crystals and shit. Given that Ty West uses the real hotel as the set for this movie about this hotel, do you think that he tried to get Dee Wallace to play either herself or this character that's based on her for this movie?
Ty West doesn't strike me as a gutless man, and I think if he didn't at least try, I'd be surprised. Yeah. It feels like an artistically... it feels like a move that would lend some real credence to the project to have the real people inspiring the roles play the actual characters.
Yeah.
And he seems like someone who doesn't have the emotional barometer to know that that's an insulting question to ask someone, so I'm sure he did. I'm sure he just waded straight in there. Do you want to play the fucking kook? Do you want to play the idiot?
Yeah.
Like,
do you want to play this fucking
definitely
has-been actress that's really into spiritual healing that gets mocked by these fucking young upstarts for the whole movie?
Do you want to play a washed-up, drunk kook? Yes, please, Ty.
It's kind of weird for him to write that role, given that he knows the person, and then she's not playing that role.
Yeah, she's like, I'm right here, Ty. So, Sarah Paxton in this movie, I think, is supposed to be very likable, right?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be an endearing quality to her naivety, her sort of willingness to still do this shit job right up until the bitter end, her light treatment of Luke, her curiosity, her resilience. But it is hard to really understand why she does anything that she does, I think.
Yeah,
Why is she suddenly a paranormal investigator?
I think she's been interested in it forever. Right. But, has only finally got the stones. Basically, the fact that the hotel is haunted, supposedly.
Yeah.
And there are these sort of long-standing ghost stories about where she works. The fact that the hotel is closing and she's losing her job means that there's a finality to it and she has to do it now. Otherwise, she'll never get to paranormally investigate this hotel.
Right.
So
even though she works with a guy who's massively into it, has all the equipment, does it all the time, but has never done it to the haunted hotel that they work
Well,
at.
I think the implication is that he hasn't really ever done it, right? He's just a guy that really wants to impress her.
Right. That was all a bit muddy to me.
Yeah.
Despite the hour plus of character development, I still didn't fully understand their history with paranormal investigation, which feels like something that would have been tacked on a little bit harder, a little bit earlier, but maybe I'm dumb. Did you feel like this felt real, apart from the ghosts?
Yes and no. I'm not sure that if I was the owner of this hotel and it was closing this weekend, that would be when I went to Barbados.
No, and I also wouldn't I wouldn't just let people walk up and stay there.
No.
The last day that you have a hotel it shouldn't be open.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's crazy they're still accepting guests.
Yeah. So vibe-wise, I totally feel it, and I totally...
Yeah.
But, in the actual movie, I don't think it quite...
No, it doesn't make sense, no. But Luke not taking that woman her towels and not giving a shit, and them still having their lunch break, all of that stuff felt, to me, not crucial to the film at all. And a lot of the criticism I read about this film slagged off that whole first hour, saying it was boring. And that's the bit that I enjoyed... Well, I can't say I enjoyed it the most, but I found it to be pretty legitimate. It doesn't necessarily all pay off, but I feel like there's a lot of quite careful slab laying to build the path towards the end of the film, even if it doesn't all land. And I felt like at least Luke and Claire felt really believable as a pair of people on screen. Yeah. They had I think they have an acting chemistry, but it seems like they have a real... There's sort of a B-roll quality to their performances that's still really legit. It's like the top end of a B-movie performance. And I like the Luke character in basically all movies. Like the nerdy guy with some equipment who shows up and does an earnest job to impress a girl. I always think of Mark Ruffalo in Eternal Sunshine is like the perfect version of that, in my opinion. It's like the ultimate... David Cross does it really well. People like that.
You should go through the whole cast of Eternal Sunshine.
Oh yeah, David Cross is in that as well, isn't he? Of course. Eternal Sunshine is a perfect film, in my opinion. But yes, characters like that. I love those sort of supporting nerds. Who's the main guy in the lone gun? Well, he might not be the main guy. The lone gunman, the long blonde hair guy.
Oh, yeah, I know who you mean. I don't know his name.
He's cracking at that. He's got a bit more chutzpah, but I like him as that guy.
Yeah.
There's loads of them. They're all great.
I think Pat Healy, the guy who plays Luke, is one of the best actors that we have almost exclusively working in genre cinema.
He's great.
He's absolute chameleon as well. Like, he can be the sort of nerdy guy. He can be like a sort of tough Nazi cop. Like,
he's really like physically strong, isn't he? He's like hiding it quite well in this, but he's built like an absolute shitty brick house.
Yeah. I just think he's great. And I like the sort of burgeoning goofiness of Sarah Paxton. There's a hint of an eternal life in there that we don't get to see.
Oh, yeah, well, you think she might be a bit of a lovable dork.
Yeah, I just think that, like, she just does some fun things with her face, and, like, the way that she delivers some lines are, like, kind of insane.
Some definitely interesting choices in some of the reads, and I think she's very unassuming in this. They obviously do the thing where they take the remarkably attractive person and just make them, they make that not the thing that you're supposed to focus on or whatever. It's still fucking impossible.
Yeah.
But she does come across in this as a really convincing, like the tagline just drove me fucking nuts. Ghost story for the minimum wage. Like, okay, sure. But she does embody that well. She's working a Joe job. There's not a lot going on in her personal life, really.
Yeah.
And we get to see this, like, strange, semi-inexplicable, but powerful drive to find something beyond the day-to-day, beyond the mundane. I actually think that's quite a difficult performance to pull off. There's a lot of time spent on her, with her and Luke. And it could easily just, like I said, it could be so boring. I think they save it from being that with really strong performances and a good ghost.
Which is the ghost that you think is good? Is it the lady ghost or the man ghost?
No, I like bride ghost. I think it sounds negative, but there's so much you can fuck up with a bride ghost, and with any ghost. And I like it aesthetically. I really enjoyed the placement and the lighting. I thought keeping it at a real distance and then not having these like crazy smash cut static up close things that totally ruin the mystery of ghosts in movies for me.
Like the thing at the beginning.
But anytime the ghost is peripheral, largely in shadow, slightly undefined, I can't say I found it scary, but it was definitely like a menacing presence that slowly built the sense of atmosphere around the haunting. Didn't give two fucks about the bloke. Thought that was bollocks.
But I mean, I think he just looks much scarier to me.
But he just shows up and kills himself. Fine.
Yeah.
Why?
Because his wife died.
Yeah, but the whole time I'm like scratching my dick trying to figure out like, oh, is this, so this woman, are they connected? No, he just shows up and kills himself and then haunts the house at the same time as the other ghost.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, that's the thing about these sort of like layers of hauntings. And like
layers of ghosts.
She's not haunted by him until she knows that he's dead. Again, which sort of leads into the perception or the projection thing.
Yeah, I like the idea of this door in your mind that maybe has to let the ghost in a little bit. I think there's a very strong, obviously, tradition in ghost lore and ghost stories. I really like the Victorian ghost idea of the moralizing ghost, like Dickens' Ghost of Christmas Past. I think a moralizing ghost has an enormous amount of cultural currency, and I think that's a really important part of how we understand ghost mythology. There's none of that in this film.
No.
There's just a ghost.
I sort of think that that's a choice about the shallowness of like these sort of people that consider themselves to be paranormal investigators. They're not really interested in the ghost.
Well, Luke just wants to get laid.
But even like Claire, who is interested in the paranormal, even to the point where it literally kills her. Like,
yeah. Well, asthma.
Yeah.
Kills it.
But the asthma brought on by the whatever. But like she's
by the ghost she invented.
Yeah, she's not really interested in finding out about the ghost. When they're doing their EVPs, she's just holding a microphone, walking from room to room, nothing's happening, and then she's being also like, if she could hear the ghost on the EVP, it wouldn't be an EVP anymore. That would be an ITC, right?
What's an ITC?
Instrumental telecommunication.
Okay.
So that's when you can hear a ghost through some sort of device.
Yeah, you can literally hear a sound
Yeah.
that a ghost is making in the human audio spectrum.
Yeah, and like
whatever.
But it's coming through, like you say, it's coming through some sort of device, so you can't just hear it. You're not just like, oh, there's a ghost in the room and it's saying hello. It's like there's a ghost in my computer and it's saying hello.
Yeah. Ooh, ghosts in computers. That's a new.
That's not remotely.
A ghost in the machine.
That's not remotely new. The EVP, ITC, directional shotgun mic stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't decided yet if that is a filmmaking decision, because like that looks more like a recorder than the thing that they would actually be using.
Well, it takes like 2 seconds to explain the thing they would actually be using, right?
I think the thing that they would actually be using, it might only take 2 seconds to explain it, but I think that like it's not very visually compelling.
You can't walk around pointing it at stuff and being like, "Ooh, listen." Yeah, okay, yeah.
But yeah, so I haven't decided if that's a filmmaking decision to make it more visually compelling, or if it's a character issue, and it's something that the characters are just sort of doing wrong because they're not very good ghost hunters.
Sure, all of the above potentially. I don't think it's outlandish to suggest that Ty West just made an aesthetic decision, but it also happens to click quite nicely with some extra character flaws.
Yeah, and I'm sure that like the bulk of the viewing audience aren't you and I.
I don't give a fuck. They have no idea what's
going on. They
don't know one mic from another.
Yeah.
They could walk around with an SM58 and they'd be like, "Cool, listening for ghosts."
Exactly.
Like, kind of a fucking talk boy walking around.
Well, talk boy's probably better. That's my point. A talk boy is probably much better. Although that wouldn't be EVP, because that would be talk boys are analog, right?
Yeah, it's just tape.
Because it records on tape. But like the idea that like she walks from room to room and is like, "Hey, is there any ghosts in here?" Holds the mic up. Nope. I guess I'll go to a different room. That is not how an investigator would look for EVP. Like they just wouldn't do that. There's like I said at the beginning, there's two methods. You leave the mic in there all night, or you do the burst method where you ask a question, you wait 30 seconds, you stop the recording, you start a new recording, you ask a question, you wait 30 seconds. You keep doing that until something happens.
Until you prove ghosts.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, Jamie, but she's just bored at work. She's that's all that's happening here. She's encountering a sense of finality in her working life, in her personal and social life. She's pondering the finality of life generally, and she's walking around pointing a mic at stuff because she doesn't want to fucking strip any beds. And I think that's as deep as she gets.
Yeah. I think that like the fact that we're using EVP in this movie presents some interesting things. Obviously, so Claire is the main character and is in basically every single shot. At least every scene is driven by Claire and what she's doing. And we don't get any first person stuff of her, but what we do get is like we get put in her perspective through the use of audio, which I really enjoyed. Like when she's wearing those headphones at the beginning, they like muffle Luke's speech, and then when she's talking into the microphone, they really, really compress it down so it sounds like I thought that was really clever and really good.
Yeah, that was nice. Possibly underused. Like we only really get that once, right?
Yeah, well, twice really, but yeah. And then like another thing that I thought kind of undercut the build-up, that slow burn build-up, was the score starts off at a really Ghostbusters place.
Yeah, it's quite dramatic.
Well, so no, it starts off in quite a sort of whimsical, like that sort of fun Ghostbusters-y score. And then it ramps up to like to the point where it's
classical.
Basically like screaming at you at the end.
Yeah.
And I think that like again that's a choice and it's on purpose. So it's meant to be like you're meant to be thinking this is a whimsical fun time, and then we end up in a very non-whimsical dead girl place. But like what I really want in order to really sell me that first bit or that first hour is to know kind of what the stakes are, and we never get that, and that's what ultimately I think makes House of the Devil the much better movie of the.
Oh, it's way fucking better in every single measurable way.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it goes back to your first point. I think the severity and the intensity of the score at the end feels almost remedial, like it's making up for the lack of substance at the end of the movie. I think it obviously we know Ty West wrote, shot, edited, directed the whole thing. I think at the end there, it's like, fucking hell, we've got to ramp something up because there's not much doing. That's how it felt to me anyway. It felt like it was way too dramatic for what was happening, especially given the slow burn of the whole start and midsection. It didn't feel tonally appropriate at the end unless you're trying to compensate for a bit of a fucking fart in the wind of an ending.
I mean, again, I think the final act from the point where they're in the basement and they're doing that sort of EVP together.
The basement, they both said definitely not to go into. Yeah.
Well, like when they're down in there and it's Claire and Luke and they're doing the recording and we're seeing the little bloop bloop thingy move. Dial move.
Yeah, the needle.
Needle. That's it. We're seeing the needle move and like all that stuff. I think that is so actually scary and it's all performance based and it's really good.
Yeah. The needle moving isn't fucking scary. It's all their responses and their physical acting in that scene that makes it tense.
And then like when it comes to a head and Luke just runs away, I mean it's a very real reaction, but it's not. It's sort of puts a silly exclamation mark on the end of that scene. But then
I just don't think it fits the movie or suits the story. Like,
well, I guess
he runs away.
I guess the point is that like he's not really
going to be in the movie for the rest of it.
Remotely interested in the paranormal, and therefore like
is it that though, or is it more that like when the paranormal gets real, he's not interested?
Well,
in
yeah,
it.
that's
like
it.
He's interested in it almost as an affectation or as a wooing tool. It would be really easy to criticize this as being not a realistic reaction because we're led to believe the whole time that he's madly in love with her, and surely it would make more sense for him to kick into some sort of like protective overdrive or at least stay. And he doesn't. It would be really easy to say that's shit writing. Maybe it belies the fact that he is also not particularly invested in her, actually, it turns out. He just thinks he's obsessed with her because they work together. It's the end of that. It's the end of work. It's the end of her life. There's a lot of endings happening. Yeah. Maybe he just fucks off and it's totally in character because he's actually a bit of a flake.
Yeah, also, like, she's just a pretty blonde 25-year-old and he's like 38 and still works at a hotel. So, like...
She looks like Macaulay Culkin.
I think she looks like Mackenzie Davis, but sure.
I don't know who that is. Do you know who Macaulay Culkin is?
Yeah.
Have you heard of... There's people who haven't.
Well, yeah, but they're not 40 years old, are they?
Why the fuck do we have this old man? I know we already touched on it, but take him out of the movie and I'm losing nothing.
Like, sure, you're losing nothing, but I think the best shot in the movie is him dead in the bathtub.
I thought that was balderdash.
That's insane. It's just a bathtub full of blood with a dead, naked old man in it. Like, it's...
Yeah, boring. Like, that's a nothing burger.
It's not. It's a something hot dog.
I'm glad we can agree it's some kind of American fast food, but I cannot endorse that. Like, the guy in the bathtub is almost always bad in a horror movie. Like, it works in some other movies, but the dead guy in the bath, the dead person in the bath, you know exactly what you're going to get. It's always the same shit. It's just like, oh, next. There's never anything done to enhance the effect of what we're seeing.
I think that there is something in this that really enhances the effect. So when it does the close-up of him in the bath, it looks like a zoomed-in photograph, like a
crime scene.
Yeah, or like the sort of photo that a paranormal investigator would take. But it's like zoomed in a way that makes it look like the grain is bigger. Like, obviously this movie's shot on film. It's like it was shot on 35mm. So like it has the film grain all the way through, and that's just inherent from the film stock that they used. But like in that shot, the film grain is much bigger. So they didn't zoom that. That insert is a still image from the previous shot that they've blown up, and I find it so creepy.
Wow, I'm surprised. I think it looks fucking wank.
Well,
but I like that it worked for you.
It does.
It feels like a cheap 90s move. It feels like one of those like bump bump Saw, not Saw. Saw's great. Saw 9 or whatever. Like
yeah, I mean, Saw 9 came out in 20
like last week or something. You know what I mean? Some bullshit like no budget. Let's zoom in on a still. I don't know. It didn't. That whole thing did nothing for me. I liked it when he checked in because I thought, here we go, interesting. A new party has entered the fray, and then he just dies and he's a ghost. Like, oh, fuck off. Too convenient. Too. I don't know. Too easy. Too nothing.
Like, sure, but he has to do that then because the hotel is closing. Like, it's convenient, but also like he can't do it tomorrow because the hotel will be closed.
No, you're right.
But like. And I think that...
I also just don't care.
I think that him appearing ghost-like... I think he's much scarier than the ghost woman.
I don't like the ghost tag team. Just one's enough. Just keep it on the OG. Yeah. Don't bring this new cunt in. He's not bringing anything.
But yeah, I think he's a scarier visual to me than like the Babadook face of the ghost lady.
Bummer. I just wish they somehow connected them or something. I don't know. Anyway, boring. But he's there. That's fine.
Obviously, they're doing a thing here where they're trying to present like a classic ghost story for the modern age, right?
Yeah, is that what's happening? Because I definitely agree. There's a ghost story being told, and I don't think it's being told in a conventional ghost story narrative way. I am actually wondering about that. You think this is like a take on a ghost story for a modern audience, or do you think it's more like a retro take on a ghost story presented in this like cinematic format? Like, I don't really know what the point is.
Yeah, no, I don't know which of those I think either way, really. I don't know if they're massively different takes, but like the idea that like we're talking about like a George C. Scott, like the like those classic The Changeling style ghost stories, like, but we're doing it with modern, disaffected, like cool, sort of Gen X feeling characters, even though we were way beyond Gen X at this point. And like, it also has that sort of timelessness quality of it. The internet is the old internet. Nobody has any mobile phones. The cars are old cars. The hotel is an old hotel. Like, you can't really place this in a time, but the attitudes feel very modern, or at least very 2014-y. So like, yeah, I like the idea of like the classic haunting, the classic sort of poltergeist style haunting, but it's happening to people who would be our contemporaries.
Yeah, I like the idea of anyone bored working a shit job who feels like they're maybe a little bit better than what they're actually doing, being confronted with something supernatural. This would work in a whole range of settings. It worked out this way, obviously, because they had this real experience in this real place. But this could be in a fucking, this could be in a Burger King. This could be anywhere. As long as you're disaffected and not particularly good at your job and not even trying, you can pull this off.
Yeah.
You can have a ghost story.
This
anyway.
Burger King was built in 1890. Ooh.
And we could call that movie Bloodbath at Burger King, a song by the band Teenage Bottle Rocket featuring Miguel Chen on bass.
If you wanted to buy some Teenage Bottle Rocket merch or records, you could do that at redscare.net, right? Or
yeah, you could. I think it's probably safe to say you can probably still buy Warning Device at redscare.net. The early days Teenage Bottle Rocket stuff still available, still very much in press, still very popular. Same with the Lillingtons. Almost the entire catalogue, excluding Stella Sapiente, you can purchase at redscare.net, home of the greatest punk rock on planet Earth and beyond.
Yeah. All right, well, let's take a break, Sam. We'll come back and we'll do our final thoughts.
Come on, man. Does that thing even work? No. There's nothing out there. It's just dead air.
Jamie, if you believe in goats so much, why don't you go on the internet and tell everyone about it from your social media account, which is
at FT Horror Show.
Correct.
Or at Carruthers.
Or why not jump on Letterboxd and cry about it?
Oh, that's Jamie FT.
There you go. Why don't you spend some money on two struggling artists working in a dilapidated hotel that's haunted to fuck, just trying to get out alive by going to patreon.com/
Final Transmission
and paying a measly $3 a month for a ton of extra content.
It's $5 a month. Your personal patron is $3 a month.
Core, wow. Okay. I mean, still worth it. Probably.
You get uncut, unedited video and audio versions of this episode and many, many others like it.
Including me dropping that pen just now, making a really loud noise. Sorry.
You get all the pre-chatter from the start of it. You'll get to find out what happened to my previous glasses. It's fascinating stuff, guys. It's really fascinating.
I was trying to invent M&M ASMR, ASM and MR, all kinds of good stuff. Just fucking do it. What are you waiting for?
And you can also find out more about what Sam's got going on Instagram at...
Oh, who cares? Sam Russo Music.
It's who cares, Sam Russo Music.
Join me.
All right, so my final thoughts on this movie, Sam. I like it. I want to like it more.
You want to believe?
I feel like this is a movie that should have been made for me. Ty West is a guy that I think his brain in the same gear as I do. He obviously knows enough about the paranormal investigation stuff to be like, yes, I can put this in a movie and I can make it make sense. I might make it make sense to everybody rather than just trying to appease the people that actually know shit, but fucking whatever. Like, he can build the tension. He can build the characters. He can chuck a fucking camera on a Dutch angle all day long. I love a Dutch angle.
I know you do. I love talking about that like it's a major selling point of a movie. He can fucking turn a camera 12 or so degrees.
I just think it's cool. I don't know why everyone just doesn't do it all the fucking time. It's just a cool thing.
Here's a question. If you were some sort of like modern emperor type character, and you had an enormous amount of wealth.
You're straight up against the wall.
Yep. Believe me, I know I am. And you're living the life of your dreams. Would you hire someone like Ty West to just make movies that you want to see? Would you be like, I want a goblin movie about fax machines in the Middle Ages? And would you just tell him to do that and pay him, and then that would be a thing? Like human jukebox directors.
Are you aware of the Kim Jong-il story?
I assume he does that.
Yeah.
But would you?
Well, of course I would. If Kim Jong-il can, why can't I?
Do you remember
That's the motto for my life. But yeah, I just want to like it more.
Yeah.
I think the first...
Oh, you don't. Sorry, mate.
the first hour works as a slow burn. The last half hour works as like a powder keg explosion of something, but it's not necessarily a powder keg explosion of the tension of the first hour. And I think the fundamental sort of dichotomy of those two sections, the first two acts and the final act, ultimately leaves me dissatisfied. But I do find some of the stuff in that final act genuinely scary, and it stays with me. It stayed with me for a good couple of hours afterwards. I don't get like actually, I'm scared when I'm watching a movie, but there are times when I'll finish watching a movie and I'll go outside for a cigarette and I'll hear a noise and I'll be like, oh, maybe I am scared.
The best we can hope for is, oh, maybe I am scared.
So, like, that is the feeling that this gives me. I have, like, sort of...
You're open to the idea you might be scared.
I have, like, a sort of a vague pit of something in my stomach that I don't know is fear until I'm in a situation where I'm like, was that something?
Was that a ghost?
Yeah. Was it a ghost? Was it a rat? Was it
Animal Kingdom ghosts? Is this a thing? Do we have spirit animals?
Well, people see the spirits of dogs and stuff, right? Isn't like Black Shuck? That's a A ghosty...
It's a demon dog, isn't it? I thought it was a demon. Devil dog. One of the hellhounds loosed in the mortal realm. I don't know. A lot of people have a lot of opinions.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, I do like it. I just want to like it more. I've said that a number of times. I stand fucking by it. I'm going to give this 8 slashes of the old man wrist out of 15.
Fair. I think it's a fair rating. I think this film is ultimately bang average. I've resisted calling it a cynical career move on the part of Ty West, because I think this is a movie that had a low budget, made a little bit of profit, and showed people that he could shoot a convincing ghost story.
Yeah, I don't think it was a cynical move to make this. I think this was him being like, I liked making House of the Devil. I would like to do that again. Like, I've already, between those 2 movies, since House of the Devil, I went and I made this reasonably high budget franchise movie with Cabin Fever 2.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I quite liked making the movie, but I didn't like the experience of dealing with the people behind that. And obviously,
sure.
We talk about in our episode about that movie, about how it got taken away from him and edited, and how we don't really know the difference between his vision of it and what the final vision of it actually is, because it seems like it's the same thing, but obviously he's telling us that it isn't. So, like, he's walked away from that and is like, I don't want to necessarily be in that part of the business, so I want to make the movie that I want to make, and I liked making House of the Devil, so maybe I'll make that kind of again, but with a twist. And that doesn't feel cynical to me. That feels almost the opposite of cynical.
Yeah, maybe cynical is the wrong word. Feels like more of a calculated portfolio move than it does necessarily the passion project that it's pitched as. It's like a movie by default almost. I don't know. Very much like you, I really wanted this to take off at every single juncture that it could have. And I feel like leaning into the slow burn was actually lovely. I really enjoyed the pace. I like spending a lot of time with these characters. I got no real complaints about the performances. I think the performances are pretty great. There's just something lacking in substance, which is rich coming from me talking about ghosts. But yeah, it ultimately, I think, misses the mark too much and too many times for me to actually say that it's a good film, even though I did enjoy it. So I'm going to give it 6 ectoplasmic handjobs out of 12.5 and call it a day, because it was fine.
Okay, that seems fair.
Feels, yeah. I mean, what a fucking weird choice. Thank you, Miguel Chen.
There's plenty more on his list that we'll get to.
There sure is.
I mean, I've seen the list, and I think we're in for some conversations.
Definitely eclectic.
We'll be back with more Miggy picks on the next Final Transmission.
On a Wednesday.
Say goodbye, Sam.
Goodbye, Sam.